official podcast of the League of Gentlemen. This is week 5, and this week's podcast is going to be strictly recaps. Last week we ventured into some of the next week stuff, some previews and some standings, but we're told that Ari is back this week. He was at KittyCon in the Castro Valley up in San Francisco. He's back this week, so he'll resume his duties. So this is just a recap of week 5. Darren, what did you see?
I saw another great week, for a point scored, for bitter rivalries that got, little attention there. It was nice to see some of these matchups we've been looking forward to. It seemed to be a couple of the powerhouses went after it. And we even got to look at, the bottom of the league. They got to battle, and overall, I think it was a pretty exciting week.
Felt like scores. It was a little bit lower scoring week in the NFL, a little bit lower scoring week in the League of Gentlemen. You see a lot more of that 119, 111, 107 than we had seen previously. I mean, there was still a 179. Billy gets his second week in a row.
Absolutely.
But things are settling down a little bit.
It seems that way this week that things did, as far as points, settle down a little. We had some injury news for some teams that they're going to have to shuffle now. But overall, another great week, and things seem to start to divvy themselves out here as teams get pushed up. That middle of the pack seems to be a little more clear.
We're going to get a little playoff prognostication at the end of the recast, but for right now, let's go to the game of the week.
Game of the week. All right, game of the week this week was the Zorros versus the Merci Bye Week.
Surprise!
Now, these are the two bottom barrel teams in our league, but they went head-to-head this week, and the Zorros pulled it out, 155 to 127.
Both teams scored their highest points so far up to the week and put in a good
both avoided
battle.
a fine for the first time maybe this year.
Well, not both. Merci Bye Week does get the fine.
Oh, sure.
And then he's out for revenge. Next team to lose the Merci Bye Week gets a fine unless he goes winless.
Right. So Merci does get that last to win fine. But, really a good showing for him. Carson Wentz comes out, puts up 28. Mark Ingram, who he's been waiting for. Wow, does that look different in that New Orleans offense, doesn't it? Mark Ingram gets the goal line carries, punches in 2. Looks like the lead back again.
Could be one of those things where they switch off week to week. It's not like Kamara's athletic ability suddenly just dissipated. He's going to be back every once in a while, but a goal line carries for sure, a decent amount of workload. It feels like Ingram could be a whole new piece for him. Carson Wentz coming around.
Yeah.
Jay Ajayi on the other hand.
That's some news for him. Yeah, unfortunately he loses Jay Ajayi, which I don't know how big of a part of an offense that was for him, but he falls to IR. He did have Odell Beckham show up though,
which we talked about. I think we're getting Dalvin Cook back.
Yep.
I don't think that they're going to go. Pooh's going to go winless this year, but it's going to be a tough climb if he thinks he's going to make the playoffs from 0-5.
Yeah, next week he plays the Sin, so that should be a good battle.
Outscored him this week.
Yeah, it definitely could push. That could be the first win for him. And Sin, you could take the fine. You better be ready. Pooh's coming to town.
Absolutely. On the other side of the coin, the Zorros 155 high water mark of the year. Some trade interesting things coming back to help. Travis Kelce puts up a number.
Yep. Kirk Cousins, puts up 19, which is, decent for a quarterback. I think he was hoping for a little more there, but he gets his numbers out of Antonio Brown. His new addition of Travis Kelce definitely puts up 18, and then Kenyon Drake puts up 25 for him. So he had a couple really nice showings there. Even his Cardinals defense, great pick,
Hopefully they can keep that up for selfish reasons. Obviously, we'd like to see the Cardinals D be the strength of that team, but a 17-yard defense is a good spot. Trying to close that gap between the 9-10 spots, and I think both of these teams put up a statement this week.
Yeah, we'll see what Joel looks like moving forward too, because making another trade with Ari, where he sends Ari sends Nyheim Hines and Chris Godwin from Tampa Bay over to the Zorros for Josh Gordon and Randall Cobb. So we'll see how this works out.
Feels like the weight of this trade might have gone the other way a little bit, but he was looking for some running back help, and maybe Hines and Drake. You never know what's coming.
Yeah, and next week he's going to run into the Pimps as far as Joel. So hopefully anything can happen, but I know the Pimps are going to be looking forward to that matchup, and Joel after one win, this should be a good test for him next week.
Well, boys, congratulations on getting game of the week. We're not sure you were going to get there the rest of the time, so it was a good pick. That brings us to matchup 2, Pimps Avengers. Darren?
Well, I was really looking forward to this matchup because this was two powerhouses going at it. What we had ranked as 1 versus 2 was a matchup that definitely was looking forward to this. I think both teams had good output. I just think there was some areas where Tom's team might have let him down especially with the Atlanta Falcon receiver. You know, when they're going against the Steelers, that's a great play. I can't imagine not playing that play, but they just didn't show up this week.
Yeah, I thought playing two receivers for one team is always going to be a risk. One's going to take from the other, but when they both don't show up, Julio Jones is scoreless at halftime.
That's
Can't
crazy.
be that. It felt to me a little bit like Drew Brees' record-setting performance was covered up a little bit of the stink of what was an otherwise really disappointing week. But great to see things for Brees. I love to have the all-time passing leader on my team moving forward. It's a good thing, but really, I got beat from the get-go. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Well, let's give you the score. It was 169 to 137. The Pimps won to move to 4-1. Avengers fall to 2-3. Although looking forward on their schedule, the next 4 games, they're going to catch the Benner Fury twice. They're going to catch Merci bye week, and they're also going to have the Young and Confused. So all of these are winnable games, I think, that could put the Avengers back on the trail of those playoffs and up in that top 2-3 teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think that upcoming schedule looked maybe a little bit better when we were looking at it week 1 than it does right now. Two of those teams are ahead of me. All that really means, though, is I got to beat those teams and get myself into a playoff position coming out of those 4 weeks. I really need at least 3 to 4 wins out of there. On your side of the coin, your core 4 have brought it every week, and this week was no exception. You traded for Thielen, Gronk, Brady, Gurley. All of them show up.
Yeah, it's been the catalyst of my season so far. That trade moving into the draft. Really, those 4 players. I mean, that I kind of look at it as lucky because you estimate that these are going to be good players. And you trade for them, but we all know with injuries, anything can happen. So I've done well there, but it's a slippery slope. Le'Veon coming back for you though could be big. I also want to talk about the injury in San Francisco that puts Alfred Morris, who's on your bench, now into a position where you can play him or trade him, and it's going to be interesting to see how you move forward with that.
I think the Avengers have been pretty conservative as far as trading so far, but this might be a year where I need to get out and get someone that I can plug in every week.
Yeah.
So,
especially with so many teams out there without running backs. I mean, Randall Cobb and Josh Gordon are going for Nyheim Hines. I think that Alfred Morris is in a market where you could deal him and get some value, especially knowing you have Le'Veon Bell hopefully coming back, whether it's to the Steelers or not, but hopefully coming back soon.
End result, Pimps solidify their position on the top of the standings. Avengers fall down into that 6th position where they're 2-3. Only, percentage points or tiebreaker points are keeping them in the playoffs right at this point. So, two franchises that look to be headed in different directions, but we'll see how the year plays out.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Next game on the docket is going to be the Poway Titans against the Benner's Fury, or whatever they are called this week. But
I thought changing your name was relegated to like the bottom 4 teams in the league, but here is Benner vying for playoff position, playing with his name every week.
And I think this was probably an Ari call that Benner wanted to tell Ari to suck him balls for picking him so low. But either way, Poway Titans come out ahead 179 to 131. Poway moves up to 4-1. Benner falls down to 3-2. Billy again gets the high point money of the week. 2 weeks in a row.
There's something to this ghost of San Diego Chargers thing that he has going on.
I guess so.
A little bit of thing because they came out and balled once again. Zach Ertz, that keeper. I wanted to talk about that waiver wire. T.J. Yeldon was on my team at one point. I let him go when Fournette comes back. He has the balls to put him in and start him and shows up with a big week.
And could be good moving forward. We all know how those hamstrings are, especially with Leonard Fournette. So this could be a mainstay for the Titans for a while, which is a nice addition to an already loaded team. I mean, even Devontae Adams put up, 32 points for him. So all around, when you put up 180, there's not many negative points. I'm sure every one of your guys is putting up points, and that was the case with the Titans this week.
You see Benner make the ballsy call on the other side to bench Pat Mahomes. Didn't cost him a lot, but it did cost him this week. Wouldn't have been enough to win the week, but you're going to wonder how much that hometown Dalton is going to affect his strategy moving forward. Getting Mixon back, probably a good thing, and then Nuke Hopkins right there again with a good week.
Robert Woods, again, with the LA Rams, had a pretty good week receiving for him. I'll be interested to see how many times he benches Patrick Mahomes. Maybe we'll offer a trade for him if he's not going to play him.
It's funny playing that homer thing with Bengals defense scoring 25 on the bench, but Tyler Boyd starting and only getting them 8. It's gonna sometimes playing fantasy isn't always the best to mix with your hometown teams.
Well, next week Benner draws Daddy in a matchup I'm looking forward to because that's those middle of the pack teams we're talking about that are looking to separate themselves, whether back up into the top or start to fall. And guys, we're halfway through the season almost, so these weeks are starting to become very important.
And I don't want to slight little daddy, big daddy, who's your daddy? All of the daddies sitting there at 4-1, technically tied for first place, although they wouldn't have a bye based on points. But 4-1 is nothing to season at. He's 2 wins, 3 wins away from being in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So, this is going to be a big week for Fury and Daddy for sure.
And Titans take on the Hammers next week. Poway's bringing 180 to the table every day. So
coming off of 2 wins, you got to figure Titans are going to be favored in that. And is this going to be the curse of Jared Cook for the Hammers, or what are we looking at?
I don't know. Somebody I heard say something about that once. Next matchup we have for you is the Hebrew Hammers against Who's Your Daddy. Now the Hammers lost this one, or Daddy won it, 119 to 97. So Ari doesn't get to that 100-point mark, and it's going to cost him a little cash.
Yeah. Also falling to 2 and 3, I think Daddy really solidifies himself in the top echelon of teams right here. Even though that 119 number doesn't look great, if you scroll down through the bench numbers, there's 20s, 19s, 34 out of Eric Ebron, 24. I think that some coaching decisions here and there, some different plays, not necessarily like life changing, but would have put him in that 140, 150 range, which is where he's been scoring all year. And I think this one seemed a little closer than it was.
Yeah, if he plays Eric Ebron instead of Jordan Reed, if he does this and that, he could have gotten up to his 130, 135, 140 normalcy. So I don't think that 119 is too much to worry about for the Daddy. However, again, like we talked about, if you win a game with 119, it's a good win, even against the Hammers. On the Hammers side of the ball, he makes a trade, which we talked about, which could definitely make him better by getting Josh Gordon, getting Randall Cobb. If he comes off the injury list, this could make the Hammers much better. However, we did see the Mark Ingram effect. Ari's been riding Alvin Kamara for a year and a half now. He rode him to a championship, but we saw Mark Ingram come back, vulture those touchdowns on the goal line, get the first and second down work. This could be a sign moving forward. I don't think Alvin Kamara is not going to get work, but the 40-point days could be gone.
Yeah, and the trade, mixed results. Jared Cook only net 6 points, which is a little bit ironic coming off the monster week last week on the bench. But Aaron Rodgers puts up 40.
Yeah.
In this case, half of his team's point, and everyone else fell flat. The only player on his bench that would have been any help at all, he has now traded away. But bringing in Cobb, bringing in Gordon, those are going to be pieces. I don't think this is a count Ari out, but we are on suicide watch.
Absolutely. And next week he draws the Titans. So if it's not going to get any easier for the Hammers. Where the Daddy, on the other hand, moving to 4-1, establishing himself, he plays Mercy bye week. So he could easily be moving to 5-1, and like you said, continuing to separate himself from the league.
And 4-1, you're legitimately 2-3 wins away from the playoffs, which is all this is really about. We can talk about seeding as we get into week 10, week 11, week 13, but for right now, it's the race to 7, and Daddy puts himself well in position.
Yeah, he's much closer to a chip in a chair, and good luck, Daddy. Good luck, Hammers. Great week, guys.
That brings us to Young Infuse and Cardinal Sin. What was another one of those mid-pack matchups and the closest game of the week.
Yeah.
Hard to put it the game of the week when the final score is 112 to 107. Flat week for both of them, but a big win for Young.
I'd say a huge win for Young. When you win a game in this league with 112 points, especially the way this year's been going, that's a good week for you. And Young and Confused, who started at the bottom of the pack with some unfortunate circumstances, I think we both agree that his roster is possibly better than his record. This was a big week for him. He's going to go face the Avengers next week. So you want, that could be anything could happen there, but definitely was important for him to get that third win, get to that 3-2 mark, put himself in that playoff bracket. He did it against the Sin, who fell to 2-3, so they kind of fell outside of that. Young and Confused, there was a couple moves he made this week. The not playing Devontae Freeman or Tevin Coleman.
It pays off. And
against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, it looked like a good matchup. I don't know if he didn't know which one to play or what, but he put in Sony Michel instead for New England.
And Kareem Hunt.
Wow, did that pay off for him? Probably won him the week by not playing those Atlanta running.
It clearly did. It's a 17-point swing on both sides. So great move there. As far as on the other side, some swings or some move that the Sins could have made.
But they didn't.
Absolutely. Could have had Andrew Luck as a winner. You got Ryan Grant and LaShawn McCoy,
McCoy
both outpointing Alex Collins and Eric Peterson. Both either play as by enough would win this game, and you'd see a huge switch in the standings.
I think this may have been, I'm just guessing here, this may have been a case of him making a trade for Adrian Peterson, but excited to get him in the lineup and put him in. You know, I know McCoy hasn't been that great, maybe the matchups or what have you, but this could have been a case where he was excited to get a player into the lineup and he just didn't work out this week.
I think looking back at this game, we will circle this on a calendar. When you get a win at the 112 point mark, that is just a huge step towards the end of the year standings and something that we might be looking back of why one team is in the playoffs and one team is out.
So congratulations, Young and Confused. It was a big week for you. Good win, man.
For a couple of weeks, we've been trying to put together a segment that would involve reactions and game day footage from the league. We did get a couple of submissions this week. Tom Farrell and Andrew sent some stuff in.
Yep.
I put some stuff. I think Joel sent us a little bit. That's great. But for right now, we're going to call this segment.
We're going to call this segment, You Guys Didn't Send Us Shit.
There it is. There. You go.
Feed Chris Thompson.
Doesn't come down to the last fucking minute of a fucking Monday night game.
Yeah! Go! Yeah! Football!
And Thielen and Gurley and Gronk and Brady, they all went crazy. Well, I left Brady on the bench, but still went crazy. Core 4, pimps.
Fuck you, AP.
Just second down and goal.
Fuck.
Just there. That's not him. Oh wow.
Let's go, baby.
Easy. Who the hell's 46? That's not AP though, right?
It's not AP, that's all that fucking matters. They took AP.
Well, hey guys, thanks again for watching the Log Jam. Remember to subscribe if you haven't. We definitely appreciate the viewership. We tried to get an interview for this week. We had some people out scoping, and we definitely thought we'd landed the Sin. We thought we had that interview landed, but a game of golden tea and a couple beers threw him away. So, shot of the week on the Sin for not showing up.
Yeah, we're going to have to throw the flag. That's a 15-yard penalty. Unnecessary douchiness.
Unnecessary. Next week we'll try to land either Ari or Benner or somebody, Andrew Farrell or somebody who hasn't been this year. But we look forward to that, and we'll let you know when we can. Again, thanks for watching, you guys. Tom and I both really have a good time doing this, so we appreciate it.